What's up, everybody? It's your boy Delano. Today I wanted to hop on Facebook Live. I'll be talking about how to get involved in real estate with little to no money and no time if you have it. Also, too, how to make an extra $1,500 to $5,000 each month, or $1,500 to $5,000 each month. So I've discovered wholesaling real estate about a year ago, and I was able to do a couple deals myself, and I felt it upon myself to teach other people in the process of how to do it. You may be a person that has a full-time job. You may be a person that's a full-time mom or full-time dad. So I just wanted to hop on here today and show you the possibilities of getting involved with real estate, having low money, low startup time, and not having to make it as professional as you can, but trying to make it to where you can be able to make a little bit of extra money on the side. Because who wouldn't want to make an extra $1,500 to $5,000 each month? So wholesaling real estate is the process of finding distressed sellers or finding distressed houses and providing the solution for that house. So you can meet or come across somebody who is a distressed seller, which means that they have a house that they can't pay for anymore. They have a house that they're a landlord and they're just a burnt out landlord. They may have a house that was inherited to them and they, for some reason do not want to do anything with it. They just want to sell it, move on from the memories, move on from whatever it may be, right? So really, as a real estate investor, you can actually get involved, not having to put up a significant amount of money to be able to do it. So what we do as wholesalers is we first establish an LLC or a business identity to show that credibility, show that worthiness, show that you're established as a business owner, and you then want to make sure that you have all the knowledge and everything that you can to be able to actually fully execute a wholesale transaction. So let me give you an example, right? So you come across somebody and they're upset because, hold on, let me see if I can move my camera up a little bit. Hang on. Come across somebody and they want to sell their house because they can't afford their mortgage anymore, right? And they can't afford to make their payments. Either they lost their job, they lost, their spouse that was the main primary breadwinner of the house, and they can no longer afford it, right? So they have a problem, right? All right. As a wholesaler, our goal is to provide the solution that we can to help them out with their financial, their emotional, and their mental burdens that they may have with this house. So I'll come in as a wholesaler, right? And let me draw a suit here. All right. I'm gonna come with a briefcase, right? It has money in it, right? So our goal as wholesalers is we're business people and we're trying to help the person with the problem. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get all of our real estate investors, our actual real estate investors who are cash buyers, people who are actively buying properties in whatever market you're in, and you want to build a relationship with that person, right? So you got cash buyers in the transaction, right? And they're the people that go and fix up a house, make it look like HGTV type remodeling, type finishes, and they go in and flip the property. Or they could go in and they could put a little bit of repairs and they can buy and hold the property, meaning they can fix it up, and then put a tenant in there and generate that cash flow once that happens. So they're the ones with the money, right? They're the ones with the money, and they want properties. So, as a wholesaler, you are acting on both sides of each client base, right? Because you have a seller who has a problem, right? Put seller here. And then you have a cash buyer, they also got a problem, and that's because that's that they want properties, right? So you find somebody who wants properties, and then you connect them to. Well, let's use this example right here. So let's say my seller has a house, and the house is worth 150 grand. Okay? And let me see. Home value. And that home value is based on it being fully fixed up, fully furnished, fully, everything done. There's no repairs or nothing needed to else to be fixed in it, right? Let's say that she has a mortgage of $40,000 left on it. Also, by the way, for everybody that's tuned in, if you get lost in the process, please comment below and I'll be able to answer that question, because I don't want people to miss any of this important information that I'm about to share here, okay? So you got a home that's worth $150,000 and you got a mortgage of $40,000, right? So let's say that the seller tells you that the house needs some repairs, right? It needs a new roof. So I'm gonna put repairs here and I'm gonna list them down, right? So it needs a roof, needs carpet, paint, appliances, new appliances, may need, let's just say, needs new countertops and new light fixtures. Okay? Alright. Hopefully you guys are following me on that. So the repairs come out, right? The seller, you get in contact with the seller tells you all of this needs to be done, right? In order to make it worth $150,000, right? So let's just say that the repairs are $25,000 to fix all this and make it worth that, right? So repairs, $25K. All right. So once you figure that out, there's a rule, and it's called the 70% rule, right? And this is the rule that all wholesalers should go by if they're to wholesale real estate to a cash buyer, right? So the 70% rule is basically a discount, right? Because when a cash buyer buys a seller's property, they want to get a discount because they want to make a profit, right? So you got your 70% rule, all right? And the reason why 70%, because at the end of the day, when they buy it, 6%, a 6% commission is going to the agent that's involved with the real estate transaction on the buyer side, and it could be on both sides. You never know, right? So 6% real estate commissions. All right. And then roughly around 9% goes into the closing cost of the business, right? Or of the transaction, right? So 9% closing costs. It could be holding costs too. So like the amount of time that it takes you to put in money into the property, get contractors, get landscapers, whatever it may be. That's probably how much time. And if you got a loan or something like that and you have a 90-day span, that's how much over that amount of time is costing you. So we're at 15% here, right? So then, the investors that I work with, on average, they want about a 15% profit whenever they do a flip, right? 15%. profit. All right. So you got 6%, 9%, and 15%. That adds up to 30%, right? So they want at least 30% off the price so they can pay the commissions, the closing costs, and make a 15% profit off the deal, right? So that 150,000, let me see if I can move it over here real quick. All right. I'm gonna put it right there. Move this table real quick. All right. So that 150,000 right here, in real estate terms, is called your ARV, right? So the ARV stands for after repair value. And how you determine the after repair value? Multiple ways, right? I'm going to show you a couple sites, websites, free websites that you can kind of get an estimate of how much the property is worth once fully fixed up. So you can go to places like Zillow, that's one, Zillow.com. You got Realtor.com. Okay. You got Trulia.com. You have you got Redfin.com. And these are all websites that give you a round of estimate of how much it might be worth, and how they determine that. It's based on what is sold in that specific area, right? So how you determine that, and you could go on these websites, kind of play around with it, right? So you want to find out what the comps are, and comps are the comparables. They're comparable sales in that area. So if you have a house that's a 3-bedroom, let's say this house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right? 1,250 square feet. Right? 1,250 square feet, right? I'm writing comps here. Okay? So the comps or comparables, should do that. Comparables. Okay, comps. Alright, so the comps will be houses that sold in that specific area that's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and around the same square footage, right? So normally, to identify what a comp is, it's either 10% below of what the actual square footage is, or 10% above what the square footage is. So if a house is 10% above that amount, you can use that as a comp. If it's 10% below, then you can use that as a comp. Also, so let me put that real quick. 10% above or below. All right. So 10% above or below, and you also want to determine the radius. The houses that sold in that area have to be within a mile radius for it to be able to be considered a comparable sale, right? So within mile radius. Okay. So let me see if you guys can see that. You guys can still see that. All right. Let's see if I can move it up a little bit. All right. So comparables have to be within the mile radius, right? So let's say you find a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,300 square feet, and it's sold for $155, right? So, and then let's say you found another one that's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's 1,200 square feet. You could use that as a comp, right? So let's say that house sold for $145. So you got $155. So let's say comp 1 sold for $155. Right. Comp 2 sold for $145. And it's best to get 3 comps because sometimes if a house, sometimes if it's little comps, it might not give you the most accurate number, but it's always good to get a 3rd comp. So let's say comp 3 is around, let's say it's sold for 150, right? Okay, so that's how you determine what the ARV is what's sold in the area around the same square footage and the same bed and bath, right? So I'm gonna erase this part now. I'm gonna erase that first part. That will be good. All right. So the next thing, right, is you determine your ARV. Your ARV is 150. All right. And you want to use the 70% rule to determine how much you can offer the lady or the man or whoever's selling the property, right? So you got 150 times 70%, because remember the 70% rule, right? 70%. Put my phone. I got my phone right there. So you got 150 times 70. 150K times 70. That's 105. Right? So you're at 105,000. Okay? Alright. And then, if you remember from before, we did $25,000 for repairs, right? So you got $25,000 in repairs. Okay? So you want to subtract the 25 from this amount, right? So subtract 25,000, you get 25,000. Okay. You get 80,000. Okay? Get 80,000. Right? So 80,000 is left, right? So this number right here is called your max allowable offer, or what's other known as your MAO. And this is the max amount a fix and flip investor will pay for a property, being that it's $25,000 in repairs, and they won't go over, but they will, they won't go over. Sometimes they will, but it's best to get the amount that you can below this number, because next comes the wholesale profit, right? So you want to subtract how much you want to make from the deal. Okay? So let's say that you want to make $5,000. Okay? And that's your wholesale profit. Okay? So you're at $75,000 is what your offer needs to be. Okay? So we're at the seller mortgage is $45,000 or $40,000. $40,000, right? And you can make an offer at 75 grand, right? Let's say the seller is the mortgage is 40,000, but the seller wants to keep around $30,000 in their pocket. So this works out because if you subtract the 75,000 minus the mortgage amount, you're left with 30,000 that goes to the seller and 5,000 that goes to you. Okay? Now, I'm going to talk about the legalities of this and how to structure this to the way it works out, right? So, let me show you an example real quick. So, you can, once you come to an agreement, right? The seller will get $30,000 in their pocket. Their mortgage is $40,000. Your offer is at $75,000 to make $5,000 on the deal, right? What you then do is you want to get this right here, and it's called a real estate purchase and sale agreement. And the real estate purchase and sale agreement is the agreement between you and the seller, letting them know that you're gonna buy the property for $75,000, right? And there's obviously gonna be some contingencies or whatever. It could be sold as is. It could be the person could put down some due diligence money. The seller is saying that the property is free of safety hazards and there won't be any mold or asbestos or whatever it is, right? And then the buyer and you and the seller are gonna sign right here on this page right here. You're gonna sign right there. Okay? So once you do that, you're gonna sign, and you got the agreement with the seller, right? And I normally put $500 earnest money deposit that goes to the title company that you turn this into. And some people do $100, $200, whatever the case may be. But I always get the buyer to pay the earnest money because if you don't have the cash like that, then you can get the buyer to give you the check for the earnest money, or you could have them turn in the earnest money for you. So then what you want to sign, and I may or may not have this in my folder here. May or may not. I don't think I do. And well, you guys can look this up, right? You can look up the assignment of contract. So you got your purchase and sale, right? You got purchase and sale agreement, right? Between you and the buyer, or you and the seller. Alright. Can you guys see this? Hopefully you guys can see this right here. Alright, let me change it right there. So you got a purchase and sale agreement between you and the seller. Let's put it up a little bit. Alright. Purchase and sale between you and the seller, and then your cash buyer is going to sign an assignment of contract. And what the assignment of contract is basically saying that you have a contract between you and the seller, and you're assigning the rights to that contract over to the investor. Okay? So once you do that, they're gonna put down, the earnest money or whatever. They agree to pay you $5,000, right, from the wholesale profit. So this is between you and buyer. All right. Next, after you get both of these contracts, you want to turn it into a title company, and the title company is going to facilitate the closing. They're going to get all the information from the seller, all the information from the buyer, and I wouldn't say that you're done after that, but as a wholesaler, I always follow up to make sure that everything is going smoothly, because all types of things can happen, right? The seller may go back on the agreement and they might try to go with somebody else, or the buyer may try to cut around you and they might go to the seller. Or, sometimes the seller doesn't let you know of a problem that was going on with the house. Like something there could be termites or something, and you find out after, and you have to readjust the price in order for it to make sense to be a good deal, right? So always follow up, and then you just turn it into the title company. The title company. Okay? So you turn it into the title company here, right? After you turn it into the title company, typically the closings take between 14 and 30 days. After the 30 days, If there's no deal, if the process hasn't been met, then you have to get an extension of the contract. But if it's within the 30 days, guess what? The seller gets paid. Let me actually use an illustration here. The seller gets paid, they got money. You get paid, you got money. And the buyer's happy because he got a property. Right? So he got a jacked up property. You see the door right there, right? So everybody's happy. It's a win-win situation. You solve the problem for the seller, and you solve the problem for the buyer, right? Because when they turn around and they flip it, they get everybody to come together and they flip it. Let's look back at this example, right? So they got the contract for $75,000. You sold it to them for $80,000. So that's why you made $5,000 on the deal, because you sold it to them. They bought it for $80,000, right? Or they bought your rights to the contract at $5,000, but you got it to where it makes financial sense at $80,000, right? So the property is worth $150. So if you do $150 minus 80, you got 70. Minus the amount of repairs that we got, 25 grand, right? You're left with, the investor's left with 55 grand. And guess what? That's their profit. Crazy, right? 55 grand will be their profit, their estimated profit on the deal. Now, it doesn't always go like that. You don't always know whether you'll get the full amount of offer, your full amount once you do it. It just depends on how you make it, and it depends the home buyers in that specific area. So I'm done for today, but I hope you learned a little bit about how the concept and the idea and the process of wholesaling real estate, how you can get involved. I'm going to be talking about very soon the market, the ways to market, basically the ways to find these motivated sellers, to find these distressed properties, so that way you can capitalize and you can make money and you can help people in the process. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you soon.